Welcome, everybody, to ReadySetCrypto. Today is Wednesday, the 6th of October. Welcome aboard. How's everybody doing? Please check in. Let us know where you're coming in from. You've got Doc and Mav here from ReadySetCrypto. Today, for about the next half hour or so, we'll be taking your questions. We got some observations about the crypto space. We obviously have a lot to talk about in terms of the recent breakouts just over the last few days, so things are looking really good. We'll give our opinion on those. In the meantime, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button if you would. Let everybody else know that we're coming on board. Beat the algorithm, and we'll get you on board here and off to your day. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. All right, we got Dinesh coming in from South Africa.
Hello, hello.
We got Loco Surfing coming in from the UK. Welcome aboard to the UK. We always have a lot of folks coming in from the United Kingdom. Let's see, Manuel coming in from Romania. Fantastic. And Sebastian from Uruguay. Fantastic. Good to see everybody out there. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button, please. Deep in the heart of Central Texas. One of my favorite memories is floating down the Guadalupe in a spare tire in an inner tube. That was great. And of course, heavily medicated. The Gold Coast, we got London, we got Darwin, we got North Carolina. All right, folks, welcome aboard. Good to see you guys. We'll get it kicked off here in a second with Mav.
Good to see everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Yeah, I think it's a little positive. You know, I think it's a little bit of a green candle day. You know,
I'd say it's a hell of a green candle day.
Yeah. Well, certainly no one could have predicted this. Yeah, this has never happened before in this space.
You know, there's something empowering about being able to spend $50 and pick up like 2.5 million Shiba. You know, that you can like, yeah, I'm holding on to 2.5 million Shiba. What about you? You know, impress your friends and your family. Let's pump that thing up there.
Doc's going to be a Shiba shill. I'm going to stay on the Doge train.
All right, we got Croatia, we got Australia, Netherlands, and I can't pronounce that last name. Begins with O. All right. Okay, guys, we're going to get started here.
Yeah, so today, I think what we're going to do is just talk charts, talk kind of macro, and really stay away from, at least on my side, doing some of the screen share stuff, but really addressing what happened, what has happened over the last 24 hours in particular, and how can we kind of get in front of this trend that we're now seeing. Obviously, BTC is entertaining the mid 50,000s, and that is exciting for many reasons, especially because 2 weeks ago we were in, you know, the depths of despair, you know, the pit of despair, you know, down at the bottom levels of the 40,000s, and here we are. Getting ready to maybe tackle 60K again, maybe tackle a new all-time high. So it's very exciting. But what has really been going on kind of behind the scenes, or where we've kind of been paying attention to, is that, you know, the total market cap of BTC has been slowly rising. It's back up over $1 trillion. But really, the last month, the BTC dominance has like started to sneakily creep up. And watching this sort of capital rotation from one sector of crypto to another is kind of key to figuring out what assets are going to like outperform in the short to midterm. So that's where we see, you know, BTC is leading the charge obviously right now. But over the long term, Bitcoin dominance is actually trending downwards. And I think it's going to continue to do so as other crypto assets attract capital. The real big catalyst for today, what is, I think, set off a lot of this liquidation waterfall, is that basically the CME futures are starting to price in the possibility of a Bitcoin ETF approval in the coming weeks, maybe months. And I mean, for those who've been around the block, pun intended. We've been down this road before many times, but I think it's also a little bit different this time too. And of course, you've probably heard that too. But this is definitely where I think we're at the sort of crossroads of regulation and innovation. And I think the Bitcoin ETF it's symbolic in a lot of ways, but it's really going to help bring institutional awareness and interest into the space. And it's going to help really mature the space in a lot of different ways. And I think that's the kind of ironic thing, is that people kind of anticipate that when Bitcoin ETF is approved and implemented, that we'll see Bitcoin's price go up. And yeah, obviously that's going to be the case. What it's really going to help do is bring in a lot more capital to the space, which is going to find other areas to invest in. Right now, we're seeing obviously meme coins up with SHIB, and we're seeing NFTs also significantly way up. About 3 times the amount of transactions are happening versus a month ago in terms of NFT buying. So the NFT market is on fire right now. The real interesting one is that DeFi is actually way down from its March highs, certainly, but even in the interim term, it's been not really doing as much as some of these other sectors in crypto. So I'm hoping that with a big Bitcoin ETF or some more institutional awareness and just more of this emphasis of crypto is kind of hot again, maybe time for speculation. That's where we're going to see a resurgence into DeFi. That's where we're going to see a resurgence into some of these smart contract platforms that have started to eat Ethereum's lunch, as it started to, the fees are just as bad in a lot of ways before EIP 1559, and we're months away from even beginning to entertain Ethereum 2.0 rollout. So this is where Solana, this is where Polkadot, this is where Avalanche have really started to make up ground, really started to become interesting hedge plays. And I think they're going to be, some of the best picks for a solid large cap portfolio. Certainly, once we see that sort of transition, as we see Bitcoin kind of lead the charge, and then people start to move into the alts, that's when we're going to see the market open up for possibility of the smaller altcoins, the low caps, the moonshots, if you will. So until that kind of happens, I think we're going to continue to see Bitcoin dominate, continue to see Bitcoin rally to the upside, hopefully, and lead the crypto market, forward into hopefully a new era, close out the year. And yeah, I think it's definitely an exciting time for many different reasons. But at the same time, seeing stuff like SHIB, the last time we saw that SHIB or Doge or meme coins kind of pumped like this, that was kind of a signal of the April-May top. So we do have kind of conflicting messages here, or signals, and I think that's where Doc can kind of come in and help clear the air a little bit, looking at just the charts and the technical analysis. But from the fundamental side of things, I think there's a lot of exciting things to be looking at as we close out the year. We've obviously been talking about lots of different coins on these live streams, and yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting plays we could be making right now in terms of either NFT gaming or going back to DeFi and automated market maker and some of this yield aggregator stuff. There's a lot of really good reasons to be in crypto right now, and especially when we compare it to the larger markets. I think, especially for the end of this year, I think that's where we want to be focusing a lot of our attention onto, because yeah, I think there's a lot of innovation and opportunity. So anyways, that's kind of my perspective as to what's happening today. Where we're going in the next 3 months, where we're going to finish out this year is obviously anyone's guess, but I think there are lots of really good reasons to see Bitcoin go above its previous all-time high, maybe entertain some of the 6 figures targets, but it's still, we're still kind of at just the cusp of this bull move, and we want to see it sustain itself first. So hopefully that's some good context as to what's happening today, why we're seeing some upside, what's going on. Is it time to start getting excited about alts again? Is it time to start getting excited about the crypto markets? Are we in a new bull market? It's possible, but it's only day one of that move. So we want to see it sustain itself. We want to see, some of this innovation really come to the forefront. We want to see quality at the forefront of the crypto space. That was really what set off the sort of trend last year around this time, is that we saw BTC rise, we saw a move into quality, and yeah, then it went into NFTs and meme coins come, February or March. But hey, that has come full circle. NFTs are, matured a lot in a short amount of time. Meme coins are, for better or worse, here to stay. And I think that's okay. I think this is a new kind of crypto market versus, if you were around in 2017 or 2015 or something like that, this is a market that continues to evolve. This is a space that represents innovation. It's not going to stay the same. So embrace it, embrace where things are going to come, where we're going. And yeah, it's an exciting time. But anyways, let's talk price. Let's talk the charts. Over to you, Doc. What are you seeing from your perspective?
Hey, Matt, before I take the baton from you, there's an excellent question that just came in from Kobe1 talking about the Chinese alts. Now, I'll give you my 2 cents on this. First of all, is like I have stopped trading any kind of Chinese stock. I will no longer trade Baidu or JD.com or anything like that because of the games that they're playing with that. Does that affect how you view, from a fundamental perspective, the Chinese altcoins?
Yeah, so it's always been the case that China was going to be hostile to the intentions of blockchain because they're antithetical to the primary functions and aspirations of the CCP. China is, for better or worse, not exactly a communist country. It is certainly not a capitalist one, free democracy or whatever. But really, what you have is almost a totalitarian, top-down CCP. They control everything, and yeah, it's not a place where free thinking, unfortunately, aspire to be out in the open and unregulated. It's unfortunate that that's the case. It's unfortunate that China has chosen this path, and it's unfortunate that there are some crypto projects that had some promising starts that are going to either have to shut down or find a new home. Binance, for example, moved from its original. I think they started in Hong Kong, now in Malta and other places. That's an example of what's to come. So I don't think it's the death of all these Chinese projects. I think they're going to adapt, but for the most part, it's what we talked about last week. Crypto banned China just as much as China banned crypto. Like we don't need China's permission to innovate, to explore new things, to do whatever we want with this technology. They were always going to want to use blockchain to implement better control and surveillance over their population. And that's one possibility of blockchain. That's one possible application of it, but it's one that I think a lot of people disagree with or don't want to see. I think people would prefer the opposite, an open financial system, one that is helping provide hope and generation of wealth rather than kind of controlling the status quo. So hey, this is unfortunate that geopolitics have a place to play in this this crazy space, but that's kind of always been the case. We've always kind of had to look to the day when we get big enough, when crypto is worldwide and far-reaching enough that it does garner the attention of central banks, governments, et cetera. And how we're going to play through that, I think, is going to be right at the forefront of the conversation over the next 10 years in this space. It's going to make or break the potential of this space and the potential of future economies and things like that. So anyways, not to go off too much of a tangent there, but yeah, I think it's too early to say exactly where things are going to go from the China perspective, but it's not promising. It's not something I, unfortunately, I'm very disappointed. I think that's the best way I can say it. So yeah, but let's move on here. Great question though.
All right, let's take a look at the charts. Let's take it up top here, guys. All right, so what we have here, first of all, now what I've been going on about for seemingly forever was the potential for Bitcoin to throw off a lower high, because you can see that if we go out to the weekly chart. So bear with me for a minute because I have to do this hard right edge. So this could have, and this is almost, I'm going to hack up your name here, Arian. This is almost Arian's question here. Could this be a lower high and then roll over and then we hit 20,000, right? So that was definitely on the table for something like that to happen, because that's the pattern for reversals. If they're going to happen, you're going to set up a lower high first of all, and then you're going to suck everybody else in and create that bull trap, which you're going to snuff them out underwater. So what happened this week is actually very important, that for the first time since this spring, we now have a change in polarity back to a weekly uptrend. So here's the weekly downtrend, which got us into the 1st of July. And then as we saw this rally, now what I said about this rally is, okay, great, but we need to see a higher low. I'm concerned about structure. I want structure behind things, because the charts that have structure are the ones that you can trade. And so this pullback actually was very useful, because what it does is it gets everybody all whacked out, right? Everybody gets all very negative about this. I'll put a big sad face down here. Everybody gets negative. Everybody starts to short the spot down here. And the whole job here is to get everybody so negative that you get them to squeeze out to the upside. You create that short squeeze. And this is definitely what we've seen over the course of the last week, is right when the price was peering over the abyss, about to drop down here. And it really honestly could have gone either way. The price instead chose, the bulls decided, and I think a lot of this was the push that Jerome Powell said, where he was like, yeah, we don't care about crypto. We're not going to come after crypto. Boom. All of a sudden we started taking off to the upside. And then it was just from there, it's kind of like an avalanche going downhill. So that technically this was very, very important for us to put in a higher low followed by a higher high. Now what I want to go over with you guys here, little bonus content. We've got a little bit of volume profile. So volume profile is very important, because if you really want to understand what's going on behind support and resistance, use volume profile, because this is the most accurate stuff that you can do. Right? So what happens with volume profile here is you tend to get these balance areas where this is the amount of volume being traded by price. And the price tends to get hung up around in this area, right? For a reason. This is almost like a mean distribution setting up at these areas. But also what you're seeing is during these valleys in here, this is where very little trading takes place. And there is no support or resistance inside the valleys. And so that's why I knew once this thing got up to this area, it was just going to right through that valley. And so that's really important in terms of being able to stay in a position or know where support or resistance is. The fact that also we had this massive amount of support happening right after we closed that valley was also very, very important. That's why the price just couldn't go anywhere. It tried and tried and tried to go down there, but there was a buy wall down there at 40,000 that really held this thing up really well. So learn about volume profile. It's not very difficult to do. And if you're lacking an understanding of support and resistance, it will tell you where things are. So now what? Now what do we got? Well, the price is getting up to the next volume profile area, and I would expect to see it flag out up here. Now, when I say flag out, this is where we're going to go over to the RSI Laguerre. We have exhaustion here. What I would want to see, if I could ask Bitcoin to do something, it would be to set up a flag right there. So the price bounces up and down in this area in a very tight flag until we recover the energy back up to where it's ready to go again. The larger time frame charts are looking great. And also what you're starting to see is the formation of an inverted head and shoulders pattern. So if you want to take that and expand that out, this is going from about, 28,000 or so up to about 54. So this is I would say a plus 30K target to the upside. So this is targeting at about somewhere in the 80s. somewhere around 80,000 as the measured move for this. So it would be good for the price to consolidate up in this area before it goes trying to, assault Mount Everest up here, and, base camps 5 and 6 for that. So I do want to see some consolidation. It's going to frustrate everybody, but that's kind of the way things are going. Ethereum is looking pretty good. No problems here. Mav talked about the fact that some platforms may overtake it at some point. So other than that, we have very mixed market. You're starting to see a big difference between the haves and the not haves, or the mavs and the not mavs, right? And definitely some serious meme coin potential here with SHIB. This one is super. There's a huge base that got set up by this one. And I'm not ashamed to say that I just dove into this one today. What the hell? It's so cheap. Why not? Why wait for a perfect entry on something that's this cheap? But, it's not something I'm expecting to get a great return on. So it'll probably become a trade at some point here. But again, it's so cheap, who cares? So with that, I'm going to go into some of the requests that we had. We had some folks talking about Binance Coin. Binance Coin is kind of languishing. Binance Coin tends to do really well when everything else sucks. So when everything else is getting hammered, Binance Coin tends to rally. And conversely, when everything else is doing great, nobody sees the utility behind the Binance utility coin. So right now it's just kind of hanging out, setting up a big consolidation pattern. Eventually this is going to be setting up for a big move, but nobody will be thinking about it when it goes to break out from here. Okay, let's see. Another one was ARX. I'm not familiar with this one. Let's see if we can go find it. ARX. Okay, so this is ARX versus Tether. All right, so this is a weekly chart. Boy, is that ugly. Let's go back to the daily chart because there's really very little data on this one. Yeah, this is this is really difficult to judge on this one because I just can't get a good view on this. So looks to be pretty sloppy, almost technically impossible to judge on. Let's go to Hex. See if I can find Hex here. Hex is a little bit deeper into our pattern. There it is. Okay, so Hex, this is Hex versus the US dollar. Realize that you're probably not buying Hex with the US dollar, but this is a big consolidation pattern. So this is more of a weekly consolidation pattern. Notice the energy here is good on the daily. Weekly is still in exhaustion, and it's going to take some time. And this is what I said a few weeks ago was like, look, don't chase after it up here. Wait for this to consolidate. It's probably going to do some form of a pennant. And by that time, the weekly energy will be back up to a level that you can look for the breakout on this one. But Hex is a great chart right now. It's just a little bit in exhaustion and may take another few weeks before it's ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the list here. QANX. All right, so let's look at some of these here. All right, all I have for QANX is the wrapped ether token on this one. This one is looking pretty good. So this has got that typical, that's a weekly chart. So we've got really kind of a beautiful ascending triangle pattern here, which is broken out. And it's to the target. It's broken out to the target. So it's hit its measured move. And based on the exhaustion here, I would expect to see this one consolidate. So watch how this consolidates. If it sets up a nice high and tight flag up there, buy the breakout from it, or look to buy on a pullback within that range. That's one way that you can do it. Okay, let's see. All right, that's QANX. Let's see, what is the next one here? Digibyte. And if I've missed anybody, please let me know. Digibyte, we'll look at Digibyte here. Now, Digibyte, I think I was relatively hard on the beaver last week with Digibyte, and I'm still kind of feeling that way. This one does not look very good. This is in a big consolidation pattern. I would say go for Digibyte if it's above 0.08 versus the US dollar. So when it gets above 8 cents, then you can get into this one. If you're already in it, you're languishing right now, you're underwater, you're wondering what to do. Can't tell you what to do with that, but if you're looking to get into this, I would wait until you get above 8 cents. Okay, so let's see. The last one here that I'm seeing on the list is FTT. So let's see what's going on with FTT. Wow, looking pretty good. So this is a weekly chart on FTT. Looking good. Okay, nice trend. Little bit of a rough pullback here. A lot of energy at the daily chart. A lot of negative volume here today. Trying to break out above 60, being rebuffed. Okay, weekly chart is in exhaustion. So what I would expect this to do is a little bit more consolidation. This one's still a little bit too immature to break out with this energy down here. Okay, I'm getting a couple more requests. Let's see, REN versus, let's just do REN versus Tether. REN versus Tether looking pretty good. This is a grinder. This is a grinder. This is just sort of a stair stepper. So looks all right. And it looks like it's putting in a really deep kind of a base here, kind of a cup with handle base. So this one may take off at some point here, but it looks pretty good on the daily chart. On the weekly chart, it's you can see that kind of base building there, the cup with handle. I would expect to see a little bit more consolidation under 1.3, and then that might be all that's necessary for this thing to break out. Okay, last one I'm going to do here is COTI. COTI versus, we'll just do it through Tether. Almost the same pattern here. Almost the same pattern on the weekly chart. This is done a big deal of basing here, and this is broken out above. Now, this is what I want you to watch for here, because here's the neckline. Neckline is 50 cents on this one versus Tether. So it's done a lot of consolidation. It's broken out, and then the breakout has failed. Now, if this pulls down under 50 cents, that is a no-go. If it breaks out above 50 cents, you can look at this as the breakout level. If it breaks out and holds above 50 cents, then we'll give it a big check mark there. That looks good because this looks like a retest of the breakout. So that has got to hold. If it goes down under 50 cents, get rid of it immediately. Okay, guys. Going back to the double screen here. So thanks everybody for putting up with that. And let's see, we got a couple of other questions here. If you see support and resistance on the charts and following these, you see big orders on exchanges to sell or buy. So my question is, where do they come from? Do traders put their orders in there, and how does this work? Yeah, those are called limit orders. Those are limit orders where you set a certain price and you set, you're either going to do a day order or good till cancel for those. And that's what those buy walls look like. Everything looks like that big, supply demand thing. So you can see the buy walls and sell walls. Those are people with stops and limit orders or whatever they want to do. And you don't really necessarily know what they're doing with that. Maybe they're short and they want to get out, or they're setting a profit target, or they're setting a stop target. You don't know. You don't know what that is. So it's just this big amalgamation of orders that are out there, and it forms a financial market. That's what liquidity is provided from. Okay. I think we're all set. Mav, you got anything to say?
Yeah, there was one really good question, and then one piece of news that just passed my attention. So I'll share that real quick. First, Slade asked about, kind of with the rise of decentralized exchanges and just more like sophisticated tools for trading in a decentralized way, such as DYDX. Does that spell the end of centralized exchanges? Is that the death knell of the I don't even know, the dreaded centralized baron who has ruled over? No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I think it is a step in a direction where we're going to see more adoption of decentralized exchanges. But this kind of notion that like it's a binary state of anything centralized versus decentralized, that the legacy financial system is just going to cease to be, and blockchain is just going to be the thing. That will unfortunately never happen, at least not in our lifetimes. What is more likely going to be the case is that we're going to see some of this hybrid approach of, decentralization, updating some of what centralization, the legacy system, where it's had faults, where it hasn't been as efficient, where it just hasn't been digital enough. This is where decentralization, the digital asset era kind of is coming in and changing things. And that's exciting. So a big piece of that is how we trade, how things are speculated on, where risk is derived from, all of that. I think it's going to be more than this just binary battle of like decentralized exchange versus centralized exchange. It's going to push us into a whole new era of what trading looks like, how it's done, all these sorts of things. It's just, it's the first steps to something exciting we can't even envision. That's sort of like a non-answer, I suppose, but it's also like, hey, I think this is, there's definitely things to like about decentralized exchanges.
It's always about disruption, right? If you can find something where you pay 80% or half of what you normally would, and you have 80% of the value there, then you're going to move towards that. You're going to go towards the disruptive product. But if you're just doing disruption just to make a religious stand on something like that, it's not going to hold up, right? So people will vote with their wallet, and they're going to go to places where they find better value for something like that.
Absolutely. So the other thing I just wanted to cover really quickly, because this I just heard about this right now, and it's kind of in line with what we were talking about today, and just doing a little screen share action here. So what we're looking at here is what I think is like the real flippening that we should be talking about right now, which is basically that we have the Deribit and the CME kind of changing places, and where that's kind of exciting, or what we should derive from that, is that CME's basis has historically always been lower than Deribit's, because Deribit is offshore. And where this kind of points us, what this kind of implies is that, this is we're going to see more big purchases. We're going to see larger purchases on the CME, because it's just, I think this is part of the speculation that we're talking about, the sort of ramping up towards a potential Bitcoin ETF approval. And, I think it's just more increasing of just interest from historical standards, more of this ability for institutions to play with crypto in a regulated, safe way via something like a Bitcoin ETF. So, it's not a done deal or anything like that. We don't want to say this is like, the most important chart you'll ever look at or something like that. Nothing to that degree, but I think it is a very positive indicator, almost more than just about anything else I've seen today, talking about today's move and whatnot. This is kind of a more long-term, big picture approach. This is where some of the smart money is kind of starting to speculate towards. So, I think there's, we'll see. We'll see where this goes, but I think it's definitely something to pay attention to, because I don't see really anyone talking about it. Anyways, does that mean we're going to see Bitcoin 100K if the ETF is approved, or 120K or something like that? Who knows? But is it going to put a increasing amount of demand on a limited supply asset? Absolutely. And I think that's going to, just kind of percolate out to the entire crypto markets, and that's going to be fun. So look forward to that, because I genuinely think that once we see proper, clear and concise, common sense regulation applied to this space in a way that's, not draconian, not, no offense to anyone, the latter generations watching the stream, but like for, regulations, legislation written and implemented by people who don't understand the technology.
3 years ago, everybody was pissed off that we were going to, we were starting to get institutional investors into crypto.
Yep.
And, you know, my attitude at the time was good. You want that. You want that demand. Unfortunately, you're going to have them pushing the price around a little bit. But if they're adding demand to it, that's all you can ask for. They're adding demand and liquidity, and that's what we got. And it's coming on more and more, especially with an ETF.
Yep. So let's just cross our fingers and see where things go. But I think as we were talking about last week and the week before, you know, October, November are typically some of the most bullish months out of the year for crypto, for Bitcoin. So I think we've just kind of started, but we'll see. It's definitely anyone's market right now. So it should be fun. But anyways, guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. If you've enjoyed this stream, if you like being part of these discussions where we kind of dive in a little bit deeper, talk a little bit more depth and breadth than maybe your typical YouTube channel covering crypto, we've built a couple services around teaching and, you know, mastering the arts of trading the cryptos, you know, how to speculate these things. And that's primarily what ReadySetCrypto is about. But some of our new services, ReadySetTrade, ReadySetVision, these are also about teaching you, you know, obviously how to trade and how to look at the larger markets in a more effective way. So some of those links are down in the bio below, as well as our Discord, where we're talking about the crypto markets every day. We got a ton of awesome channels in there for all sorts of different, you know, topics in the crypto space. So it's always fun to be a part of because things are always moving in the space. So it's definitely one of the best communities that I know of. You know, maybe a little bit biased here, but it's definitely one where we keep the shilling to a minimum and focus on the substance. So it's definitely, if you're not on there already, definitely consider joining because yeah, it's free. And I think you'd be a valued member of this community. So, you know, if you're not subscribed as well, please do so. It really helps us out. But otherwise, guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. See you back this time next week. And yeah, let's see if we can entertain Bitcoin 60K or higher. Let's make it happen. But until then, guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. See you next week. Have a good one. Enjoy the bull move. And yeah, take care.
Adios, everybody. We'll see you guys next week. Bye now.
Cheers, guys. Bye.